We are rolling. Shannon, thank you for joining on the podcast. How's your day going?
Awesome. How's yours?
It's beautiful. Sun's out here in Colorado, so I can't complain. Let's jump right in. We didn't actually meet at the IEB conference. You met my brother, Mike. I met one of your co-founders, and you guys were both lovely from when we came back and compared notes, and we said, hey, we want to work with them more. So you're from Energy Raven.
Correct.
Let's just give a quick rundown of what it is and kind of
how
you're in the industry.
So brand new software we just developed, which allows a home inspector to perform an energy analysis alongside their home inspection with just a few extra questions. Very simple. They can give performance level information to a homeowner. And we think it's just a real game changer because the home inspector is so trusted in the industry and is so important at calling out all the issues that could go wrong with a home. But they often don't have the ability to offer solutions. So we not only allow people to see, the inspector's calling out what's inoperable or at the end of its useful life. Our recommendation logic will come up with, what they can do about it. Here's a heat pump. Here's how much you could save from it. And we connect them with tax credits and rebates that are available, which is a huge differential. So it's like serving up the good news alongside the, I'm so sorry that your water heater is on its last legs, but, here's $2,000 to help offset the cost of a new one. So we're really excited about it and think it's just going to be, a huge win, especially as energy prices continue to skyrocket and there's, energy insecurity in lots of, grid dependent states. And we're just really excited about how 2024 could be the year of energy.
100%. And that's why I was pumped about it. And Mike was pretty pumped on it as well, because I think all inspectors typically they like energy. It's just a category. I'm saying when you talk about energy efficiency, many inspectors will go on tangents with you. Maybe not so much of other add-on products and ways they can differentiate themselves, but energy, they seem to grasp better in terms of another add-on service they can offer. Have you found that?
Everybody uses it, right? Like it's one of those things where not everybody needs radon, and not every home is susceptible to mold or has that as a top issue. But every house uses energy, and people are curious about it. We do analytics about the solar efficacy, and anybody who's tried to look at solar for their homes knows that the solar industry can be really predatory in terms of trying to get what do I qualify for and how much is it going to cost me. So we use all these APIs with Google to really give people at least a first blush of here's what you could offset in terms of your energy based on the sunlight in your area, the latitude, how many days of usable sunlight you have, not on these cloudy days, and really kind of give them that base level analytics. So, and there's no better person than the inspector to deliver that.
100%. So how was the conference, thinking back a few months now to the IEB conference where we all connected? How was the reception? That group's typically pretty open to innovating and doing things differently, which is cool. But how was it in your eyes?
They are, and they were fantastic. And we've really been excited about the reception. So many of the inspectors are really looking at this as a differentiator. We originally started with it as kind of an add-on optional, but now we've just been talking to inspection groups about just included in every inspection as a real difference maker, and actually as a way to increase prices.
Yes.
We did some analytics that was showing how, this is not a new topic. I know you've had other people say this, but the home inspection just does not cost enough relative to where home prices have gone, relative to what the broker is making off of the deal. And the inspection price has really just been so sticky low. And inflation's gone up 22% in the last 2 years, and inspection prices have not gone much higher. So this is a great way to start 2024 off and say, you know what, we're raising our prices by, $25, $50, whatever you're comfortable with. You should probably raise it by $200, but I know that's aggressive. But and include this energy report. It's
Yes.
such a huge differentiator, and it allows them to just really be the expert in the home and offer something completely different. I guarantee it's going to be a game changer with the realtors. They're so used to looking at things the way they have always been. You guys were a game changer when you came on and really started allowing people to see what a different kind of an inspection report could look like. Let's make this a little bit more interactive. Let's make it a little bit, less static and scary. And let's, really kind of celebrate it. And I think this is exactly the same kind of thing, just one more level up. Super excited.
I'm going to spare our listeners my tangent on price because I completely agree. Like it should be $1,000 at least base home inspection. I'm just going to say
agree.
in terms of the
I
value
was
it
just
provides.
talking with the guy with Harmony at Greenworks last week, and that was her 100% message to all inspectors. She's like, I don't care what market you're in, it should be at least $1,000. And I mean, when you think about how the average home price is, I want to say it's around $400,000 right now across the U.S.
Right.
That means your broker's making $12,000 off of the deal. The buyer's agent, who did nothing. They didn't do the listings. They didn't take the photographs. They didn't stage the house. They didn't do the MLS. All they're doing is helping shepherd this person along the way. The inspector is so much more important. This is your biggest investment. Why are you trusting the broker's opinion? You have to be trusting your inspector. I actually think that's going to be the game changer in the next 5 years, especially with the NAR lawsuit and that industry. So I come from the prop tech industry. I've always been in real estate and related technologies, but everybody in the real estate industry is talking about how the role of the buyer's agent is going to go away. Probably not the listing agent. Really, they are doing quite a lot in terms of trying to get the word out, but most people are shopping digitally for their home. They're looking, so you don't need the buyer's agent as much, but you do want a trusted expert to help you make sure that you're not making a mistake.
Right.
Anyway, so I could go on and on and on about how important the inspector is in the process, and
let's
hope that continues to be.
Let's rip on the lawsuit for a minute because we've only talked about it a little bit on the pod. I don't know if a lot of inspectors are aware. If you're not, basically there's been a class action suit that was settled that found brokerages guilty of conspiring to keep commissions artificially high, which may prompt some changes in how laws are made or created around buyer's agents and what they can charge. So that was what happened. Google it if you're not aware of it. But our industry could have its day in the sun even more. What do you think that opening could lead to in terms of the role of the inspector, where it's been, where it was kind of when you saw it for the first time, and what it could mean now? What do you think some potential ways this plays out are?
I mean, I think it would be really great to see the home inspection industry really come together. I mean, there's certainly a lot of non-competitive benefits of working as a group, right? And I was talking with you yesterday, like think about the Got Milk ads and how that really helps the milk industry. And, Real Beef was a whole thing with the beef industry. Like this was completely leveled up for them how the whole industry was perceived. And I think the same kind of thing could happen with the home inspection industry, really getting a buyer of a home, a potential buyer, anybody who's looking at the real estate market to say, who should I partner with? I should partner with somebody local who's an expert in my market, who can help me really look at what the house should be. Like I'm pretty good at going through and looking for the schools district that I want, or the neighborhood that I want, or the style home that I want, but I don't really know anything about this house that has a basement or that's 38 years old or its systems or anything like that. And that I think is really a message that could start to resonate, so that everybody in the home buying space could look at the inspector as the first person that you should be thinking about, not the realtor, the buyer's agent.
I love this train of thought because back to price, if we want this industry to have upward pricing power, you have to probably add more value, right? Or we got to brute force it with value and differentiation and knowledge of the local area, basically what the realtor knows. Because I can say this as a former realtor, everything we learn, we just kind of get from the MLS or Zillow. There's no like specific hardcore knowledge that we've honed over 10 years, as much as we want to tell clients that. No offense, agents, but like it can be learned. And I think inspectors ramping up their knowledge of that can become more holistic in what they provide to the home buyer.
Right.
And so,
and homes have become more complex over the years,
sure,
right? The system, like, you know, home inspection industry as an industry is only probably 35, 40 years old. I mean, it used to
right.
be, if you in the 50s you buy a house, it's on you to know something about the electrical, to know something about the plumbing, to know something about the roof and the structure. And people kind of did. Maybe you inherited it from your grandfather or your father, and you're handy, you can fix things. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody knows anything about their electrical panel. They hardly even know where it is. There's just so many things that people need more help with. It plays into ancillary services as well, and whether or
Yeah.
not people have like sister companies of, handyman services, HVAC services, all of that kind of stuff. That's a whole other tangent. But, it's really this home expert. How do we level this person up in the eyes of the homeowner? I heard from an inspector a couple weeks ago that, a lot of their inspection reports don't even get seen by the home buyer. It's the agent is literally controlling that whole thing. And you think, how did we get here? How did people start thinking this was optional? No, it's not. You need somebody to tell you whether or not, even if you're not making a contingency of the sale, because I mean, let's be real, there's still a lot of markets where it is a seller's market. So you're not going to be able to have the negotiating power that sometimes a home inspection information can give you, but you still want to know it. You should still have this inspection. I don't care whether it's a contingency, do it. Make sure you know what's going on with this house, as a foundation. And then, personally, I would keep having the inspector come back every year and tell me, did that crack in the foundation get worse? Or yeah, after that big storm, now all those loose tiles that you told me about on the roof are a really big problem. And anyway, I think the whole industry could really get leveled up. It's part of the reason that I really wanted to distribute this energy information through inspectors. They are absolutely the right people to give this kind of content to, because they should embrace the whole house. And like I said, it's not just the structure, it really is how the house performs. And it's anyway, I don't want to go too
Yeah.
deep off the deep end, but I really think that the inspectors are poised for a lot of increased role in this whole market.
Yeah. And it's going to take, I think, a collective mentality shift of the industry in terms of being open to adding more value, doing things differently. Because I can say this, I've been here long enough. Inspectors aren't always the most open to change. We'll just put it that way.
Yes.
But in order to actually make any effective change and move pricing up and change the role, change the perception, you have to try new things and you have to be open to adding more value. And that's what's so intriguing about the energy efficiency stuff, is that one, it applies to everybody, like you said. Two, it's kind of a newer type of package and service and thing they can offer. And three, it creates upward pricing pressure, which we all want. Pressure is
Yeah.
the wrong word. Upward pricing mobility, to say, hey, we're
Yeah.
worth a lot more. Let's start charging it. You brought up an interesting point on that inspection still being optional. So I don't know if as an industry we need to like lobby like NAR to make it be mandatory, but it's kind of mind blowing that agents can still see it as optional when people are spending hundreds of
I
thousands
think
of
people
dollars.
just don't know. I mean, sometimes, I've seen agents who, kind of position themselves as the expert in the house. They'll go through and they say, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's superficial." Or, "Oh, why are you trusting this person? They don't have any kind of a degree in
It's
this," just because
irresponsible.
they've
Yeah.
walked through a bunch of, it's really crazy. So I don't know if that's really happening. I was reading a porch survey that happened last year, and I think they surveyed like 1,000 people who had recently bought homes, and 88% of them said that they had a home inspection. So that's actually
Yeah.
higher than I think people had perceived. So 90%, that's not bad. I would take that. 83% of them said that the lender required it. So
They
I was
thought the
I was
lender
surprised
required it.
by that.
Yeah.
Right. And and it's not true, but this is the perception, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, check a box. So it's another avenue to maybe go through. The really interesting part was that only 53% of them got their inspector from the broker. And across the US, I thought that was surprising, because I think a lot of inspectors think that their business is coming like 80, 90% from these agents. So the rest was really word of mouth. And I think that that is something that they need to continue to recognize. Only 2% was coming from Google and 1% from Yelp. So I think there's just some misperceptions of where your business is coming from and where you should spend marketing dollars and all of this kind of stuff. And if it's going to be word of mouth, like, great. Well, let's follow up with all of your homeowners. Let's make sure you do a really great job with them, and continue to stay in touch with them, and give them benefits like this energy analysis report, and those kind of things are going to go a long way. Like ours is a living dashboard that people can continue to refer to, and know about their systems, and what system is using how much energy, and what they can do about it, and really connects them, like I said, with all these tax credits and rebates that are coming down through the Inflation Reduction Act, and also through the local markets and utilities. Lots of different governments. I mean, every state has got their own initiatives for how they're going to decarbonize, electrify homes, and things like this. It's just information that homeowners are not going to be able to easily access. And we provide it, and it's coming from your home inspector. Oh, yay, this is such a great way for you to continue to stay relevant with this homeowner, when 20 to 30% of them are the ones that are referring their business back to you. So
right. It all ties together. Let's touch on the tax credits and such, because I don't know if a lot of inspectors, agents, or home buyers listening may be aware of that. So you said every state independently creates their own kind of plans to help homes be more efficient. So like, how does that all work?
They do, and it totally depends on the state. Obviously you can imagine, with different political aspirations that people have, but sometimes it's coming from the utilities themselves. I mean, utilities have an incentive. It sounds counterintuitive, but they really want to stabilize and reduce the amount of electricity people are using, in particular electricity versus, say, natural gas, because when there's these huge surges and you get brownouts and blackouts, like, they can't control the demand. So anything that reduces the amount of drain on the system is a big deal. And residential housing uses 20% of the electricity in the US. So it's a big deal for them to say, like, how do we get you to use less?
Right.
Even as we all keep adding electric vehicles and adding more stuff, like, use less, but let's make sure it's really efficient and stable, because those spikes in energy are a big deal. So anyway, the utilities themselves offer a lot of rebates for adding electric heat pump or a heat pump water heater, or even installing an EV charger or things like that. So we give people all of the information that they need. But the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed in 2022, still taking forever to come through all the states, but it is federal money. In some cases, like $14,000 per household, depending on their household income level, but like low and moderate income people for sure, are getting thousands and thousands of dollars to defray the cost of adding something like a heat pump or heat pump water heater, even upgrading electrical panels. So, it's a lot of money, and the inspector ought to be the great person to be able to tell them that, like I said, because you're often calling out when there's bad news about the systems and things like that, to be able to allow people to see what they can do about it and offset the cost is huge benefit.
So this could be thousands of dollars in homeowners' pockets, maybe a year after moving to a new home, by making some simple upgrades that they may have done anyway. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Exactly. And it would take you a long time to do all the research to find out, does my utility offer this? Does my state offer this? Is there some other incentive? And how do I file for that? And some of them are tax credits, and some of them are upfront rebates with contractors. It's just a spider web of different things. It's hard to kind of unpack. So that's another reason that I think that this kind of information is so topical and really pays for itself.
So you guys go through the work of finding all that info and presenting it, because let's be honest, utility companies probably are not the best marketers or communicators in terms of getting that information to homeowners.
No. I mean, they're like, oh, we put it on the website. You're like,
right.
The website of your utility provider.
I'm not randomly going to Excel's website to find out if I have a rebate. It's got to find me. Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, in terms of differentiation, I wanted to touch on something on I think a lot of inspectors believe they are differentiating by doing certain customer service things, delivering the report on time, and all those are differentiators, but there's small ones.
Yeah.
And I think as our industry elevates, what they think is differentiation might just be the standard now. And
Yeah.
so what have you learned in terms of the mentality of inspectors with differentiation? Because to me, that's such a important, like, it's always a conversation. I don't care if you have 20 employees or if you're just a solo
Yeah.
inspector. So like, what do you think about when you hear inspectors talk about differentiation, when you talk to them about differentiation?
Um, it's hard because I think they're still so beholden to the agents and the agents conversation and feeling like you got to give me a discount or it's really all price related. And I love the inspectors who say, you know what, I'm not going to be a race to the bottom kind of business owner. It's just not how I roll. And they all do want to do the right thing. Like what is the best way to differentiate yourself? It really depends on your market. In some cases, it's like if you're in New England, you might have all kinds of really old homes, right? And so is a differentiator in that market for you to be the expert in these old homes and to market yourself as an expert in the old homes. Well, that might mean that you're not the go-to person for a brand new home. Okay, you should be okay with that. Like if this is your niche, like own it, and that's how you really build, I think, market share. I'm often surprised when I look at the numbers of inspections that happen, right? There's about 4 million home inspections that happen every year, somewhere between 4 and 5 million. The peak was probably closer to 5.5 million in 2021. But existing home sales, there is a normal amount of turnover. Like it's not going to go to zero. We've
Right.
kind of, declined about 35-40% in the last couple of years, which is painful if you built up your whole business in order to, assume that 2021 was going to continue, which nothing ever stays the same. But, it's not going to get much lower than this. In fact, in the last 30 years, this is the lowest existing home sales we've ever seen, including from the financial crisis,
Right.
meaning there's a lot of pent up demand from normal turnover. People still need to move. So I think that the inspection industry has taken a hit for sure, but is going to, benefit from stabilized economy and stabilized interest rates, and the fact that people are like, okay, even though I have a 3% mortgage, like I still need to move because I'm empty nester or whatever.
Right.
You got to kids keep coming, people keep still getting divorced and death, right? It happens. So back to the differentiation thing, I think it's really like owning your niche and looking at what you can do to grow your market share as the industry starts to stabilize. And what I was saying earlier about the statistics about them is that the biggest inspection companies are still doing less than 1% of the market share in their area, meaning there's tons of room to still continue to be more relevant to all these people. So you have to figure out what is your key message, what is your sweet spot, what is the thing that you most make money off of, and own that space. And I think that is just one of the key things that I would like the inspectors to know is like understand your own business, like what really is the difference maker for you. And if we can help you be a differentiator because you're going to be the perfect person who's actually delivering performance level information to home buyers and giving them this extra level of insight, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's so much white space because there has been forced retirements over the last year or two. We've seen the flush out, whether it's new inspectors or 30-year veterans that just see the environment as being tougher and drop out, which leaves a lot of agents without a home inspector. And I believe in you have to like value stack your offerings, because to every individual agent, one thing might be important, to another thing might
Yep.
be important. So it's almost like you have to have your tool belt full of 3, 4, 5, 6 offerings that speak to different agents of like what's important
Right.
to them. And this is another huge one because I believe agents can understand everything that happens post move in better than maybe other things. So the agents know contractors and like energy in terms of like the needs. So I think
Yeah.
this stuff is closer to home for them. And so I think appealing to that makes a lot of sense. in terms of the
Well,
product.
and we're talking about buyers agents going away. They're not going to go away tomorrow. It's going to be like a slow, and probably they'll have to start differentiating themselves really, and standing out and justifying the cost that they're charging to the homeowner, which might be a better alliance with the home inspector, not just looking at the ones who are not going to kill your deals, but the ones who are really going to level up the information that your homeowner gets, make you look better as well. And I think that is like a key partnership, to the extent that everybody is still really focusing on the agents as a vector of distribution. Like, how can you help them do their job better? And inform anything that has a continued relationship with a homeowner should be a bonus for both people. Anything that gives the homeowner more insight, more information, better connections is going to be great. Whether it's a radon or sewer scope, like whatever your differentiator is, like pick it, own it, and show the agents how you're helping them empire build.
This might be a wild question. Do you believe there's a future in which the dynamic could be flipped, where the home inspector kind of becomes the hub and the relationship owner, and say the buyer's agent's role does diminish? Is there a future where you believe the inspectors could even be whether it's revenue source or continuing the relationship with home buyers for agents? Because right now it's flipped, right? Like a lot of inspectors feel beholden to agents and reliant on that relationship.
Yeah.
Do you think that could ever flip?
I mean, 100% I believe it's possible. I think that a lot of the inspectors will have to re-envision what their role is and how they present themselves, because I think they've taken a little bit of a backseat to the agents and allowed them to steer the conversations. And so I think it's you're going to have to do a little bit more marketing. You're going to have to be a little bit more engaged with the homeowner, right? Insist that the homeowner is with you during the inspection. In California, I know it happens far too often that the homeowner isn't even there. Like you want them to be a part of the process. Maybe if they can't be there because they're working now, there's a video that you share with them or something of that nature, so that you really get the credibility of being the expert that they are. They train for so long, they do tons of work. Most of them have come from some element of the trades, and they just know what they're talking about. So how do you get that to start being heard by the right audience? And then that allows them, like, if I'm gonna hire a home inspector to come and tell me what's wrong with this house, why wouldn't I trust them to also tell me who should fix it, how to fix it, and what I should be doing about it? Everybody wants more help. Do it for me. And I've been in home services a long time, and there's so many companies that come and go trying to help with home maintenance, trying to help with being the easy button, but nobody's fixed it. Nobody's really crushed home services. I actually think the inspectors are the best people, because they've already built a rapport with the homeowner. They've built a rapport with the agents. Like, yes, own this space and get out there and help these guys own their house. Like, they can't do it by themselves. I promise you, it's not just the millennials. Like, nobody is good at managing their own house, and they just let it like rot into the ground, and they lose all their equity as a result, right? Like, the mortgage holder doesn't care because you put 10-20% down. That's your equity that's on the line if you screw it up and you don't fix those holes in the roof. But let the inspector take this, just, I guess, take it by bull by the horns, right? And
yes, I love this energy. I love this energy because I do believe it all starts with confidence of the inspectors, because over the years, I would always get so frustrated when they're like, no, it's not my role. I just do the home inspection. Like, I don't want to add more value, even if it means the economics like increase for them. And like, I believe they have to have the confidence to believe they can actually offer more and be more. And I think, I'm not to put on my psychologist hat, it's like I'm not qualified to do that, but I think there's just so much potential to own more and bring more economics in our industry. But it has to start with the inspector, like you said, believing it. And taking the bull by the horns. So that can't happen quick enough, I think.
I think that's a lot of the messaging, like back to the IEB. Like I really do like a lot of the content from the
Yeah.
coaching organizations. They really do focus on you as a person. Like come in, be confident, own your business, own your market space, own this relationship, and be your best self. You are an expert. Feel it and come
Yeah.
into your own as a result. And I think that that's just gonna, to your point, that that can't happen fast enough. And I think more people just need to have the confidence to really get out there and believe in themselves.
That's part of the difference between some companies' average inspection being $800 and others being 400, I think, is because one, it's
They
confidence, but
believe they're
two,
worth it.
yeah, the confidence to offer more services and market them appropriately. You mentioned an interesting point on buyers not being at the inspection, and I was gonna riff on that for a second. Of
Yeah.
some probably bury their heads because you're just showing up to hear negative news. And that's
Yeah.
why the energy raven stuff's fascinating, because that's like a positive.
I
It's
know.
like a, hey, look what you can gain from being
Right.
here, because some inspectors promote positive things in the report. They say, hey, look at these
Yeah.
countertops. These are amazing. Here's a picture of it.
Yeah.
Good job. Like
Yeah.
you got a good thing going. And so I think the psychology can even change around what the home inspection is, because most people believe it's, let me show up and you're going to tell me everything that I got to spend money on.
Right.
Some people bury their heads versus, I'm going to get an education on how I can better own this home, be more efficient.
Right. One of the things that we put on our dashboard is all the things that are already good and energy efficient about your home, and it's called out by the home inspector. I mean, we wouldn't have any data if they didn't run through and get it, but it's, I think that feel good thing is really important, just to
Yeah.
know, like, phew, okay, the heating system is good. And I think you're right that the narrative has really been more of like insurance claims and things like that, where
Things
you're
you don't
just
want
like
to deal with. Yeah.
scary stuff, and you're like, okay, there's no problems with the water heater. Well, okay, there's no problems, but that is a good thing. Hey, water heater looks great. Big gold star on the on the
Yeah. Yeah.
Spectora report.
Yeah.
Um, so I think leveling up that information definitely would help. And it also focuses people on what they need to focus on. I think sometimes the summaries pages will have all kinds of things that are not that important. I mean, they're just like minor code violations, or like GFCI that is not working properly. But you really want them to focus on, but this thing over here, you got to really watch this. Don't do anything right this second, but this is a yellow flag. And if you buy some credibility from them, then it's definitely easier to have that conversation. If you show some good news, at least the bad news will have a balancing effect.
Yeah. You nailed something in terms of prioritization of what to expose to the buyer and agent, what to talk about, even, because that's a skill in itself that doesn't get talked about a lot in our
Yeah.
industry. It's more of just like, bleh, put everything on the report and then you're good, as
Yeah.
opposed to thinking of the actual buyer experience. And I think that's part of what you all even offer and talk about a lot, is what's important to the buyer. Because you're right.
Yeah.
Is a GFCI really what's most important to them?
Right, right.
Maybe not.
And yeah, and do they even really need to focus on that so much? And I think there was, for a while, a real focus on the inspection report being a negotiating tool.
Right.
Let's call out these things so that you can get the price lowered. And I think that worked during the buyer's market, and it was certainly that perception may have led to why so many people waived their inspection in a seller's market the last few
Ah,
years. Because if you think you're not going to be able to get the price down, you're already in competition with five other people, that you're ratcheting up tens of thousands of dollars,
right.
on the bidding. Why do I need the inspection report? I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. So flipping the script on that is, I think, a really important narrative as well. And that's why I'm saying, like, even if it's not a contingency of the sale, still insist that you get this, whether it's the agent insisting it, or better yet, the inspector, making this broad kind of message to the home buyer. Insist on getting this, because this is the foundation by which you will start your journey of home ownership. Like, what do I need to do with maintenance? I mean, how many people don't even know how to change the filters, or that there is a filter on an air conditioning system and the heating system? Like, they just don't know. And if you don't know, like, you're just gonna hide and say, "Oh wow, it broke. I have no idea." And now you're in an emergency, and you're going to be paying emergency costs.
Yeah.
And it all gets worse. So
I think the ongoing maintenance is another huge opportunity as well, because if you look at baby boomers, they're aging in place and they may have the skill but not the will to do this stuff, as you referenced earlier. They don't want to
True.
mess with it. They want an easy button. And then you got the young buyers who don't know where the water shut off is, or how to change a furnace
Yeah.
filter. So I can't think of anyone better than the home inspector to be the tip of the spear in terms of like, let me guide you on this journey. Let me give you the tools,
Yeah.
support, software to fix all this, because otherwise you're right, it leads to failures, which just leads to dollars spent. But I think inspectors have to embrace that ongoing relationship, knowing it's going to
Yeah.
result in more money for them, more business.
Yeah. Like imagine if you're going through a house and you're looking at, say, the heating system, and you recognize it's kind of on its last legs, even though it's only, say, 10 years old. If you say to that homeowner, looks like they haven't changed the filter in a long time, as a result, this whole system is weaker than it ought to be and is going to need to be replaced quicker. That's a huge message to the homeowner. Like, these people screwed it up. Don't you screw it up. And here's how to extend the life of it. Right. So I think we've gotten to a place where the maintenance tips are coming through a blog or a newsletter, but the opportunity is really right there during the inspection to be able to say, like, had they taken better care of the roof, this wouldn't be a problem. Had they added, attic insulation, their energy costs wouldn't be so high, or whatever the message is, like, pick it. But I think it for those who actually still have homeowners coming through along the home inspection with them, it's a great time to teach them.
And people will pay for convenience if it's easy to get the service. Like, I think, like,
Yeah.
we can have narratives around the economy or who's feeling what, but at the end of the day, I believe younger homeowners, they care more about how they spend their time,
Yeah.
and they will pay you if you're in the neighborhood to even change a
Yeah.
furnace filter. I just really believe that in my
Yeah.
core, that this can be
You're
very
not
profitable.
wrong. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge opportunity for the home inspector too. When you think about how much energy and effort that they've taken to really make those connections and establish themselves from a rapport standpoint as the expert in the home, take it to the next level. Tell them you can come back in 90 days and work on these things, or tell them that you've got this connection with a handyman or HVAC. Like, tell them all of that kind of stuff, and then be there for them. I mean, like we said earlier, you've been hired as the expert in the home. Be it, own it. Keep helping these people. I guarantee they have no idea who to
No,
call.
no, they need an expert. They're and I speak from experience of, like, I
Yeah,
am just always constantly Googling and finding randoms, essentially, as opposed to someone that I trust via word of mouth. So the
yeah,
need is there.
yeah,
I love how fluidly and speak about the industry and everything. So did I should have asked this in the beginning, but, like, did you come from an energy background, building, construction? What were you doing in prior lives? I think, like, it's so fascinating
yeah.
because you
Well,
speak as if you've been in this industry for 10 years.
not in the home inspection industry for sure, but definitely in real estate. So, started my early career on Wall Street in mortgage-backed securities, trading those bond debt instruments, things like that. Went back to college and got my master's in sustainability. Really started looking at construction, doing some fix and flips. Then the financial crisis hits, and my husband and I um, raised some money, built a business to buy all of the homes that had kind of gone by the wayside
Sure.
and really fallen in value. So ended up with 4,500 homes, single family rentals, and really kind of started that whole industry. And I really focused a lot on the property management side of it.
Mhm.
And once we sold that portfolio to a hedge fund in New York, we he went in a different direction with a lot of the financing, and I sort of looked at this property management side and said, why is it that owner occupied homes don't have any property management? Like, why don't I have a super that I can call, or the landlord is not coming? It's just, we do such a good job with rentals in terms of the minute the refrigerator stops working, we send
Well,
someone out there. But owner occupied homes, you're just struggling. So I started a company that was really kind of a subscription maintenance company, and I ended
mhm.
up selling that to AAA. because I thought this is such a great opportunity for, people to start to have somebody that they can trust to
Right.
keep coming back. And then, really kind of coming back with the spike in energy costs of the last 10, 20, sorry, not too many times. I'm thinking of post-COVID, where we've just really seen all of these, jumps in prices and, like I said, brownouts, blackouts,
Right.
energy insecurity, stuff going on in Texas with their grid instability, and saying, okay, well, let's just retrace our steps here and say, like, how do we get energy information to people? It's not going to be easy, but the home inspector is really the best person because you're still going through the house, you're collecting very detailed information, and these people know nothing about the house they're about to buy, right? So you own a home, you look at your bills, you don't really know what you can do about it, but it's kind of a known thing, at least at that point. But if you're going to go buy a new home, whether it's a larger home or it's in an area that you weren't living in before, you don't know anything about it. And you might be able to ask the previous owners for their bills, but that just tells you if they're crazy cat ladies and leave the windows open while the heat's cranked to 80. But you don't know anything really about it, and you don't know what you can do about it. So that was where the idea from this came about a year and a half ago, and we built all the technology, and then partnered with Elite Group in Southern California to really kind of run some trials, kick the tires on it, make sure it works. And, they just loved it. And so we started really chatting with people at IGO, people at IB, you guys, and, really trying to figure out, like, how do we share this great news with all the inspectors and really get them to, be able to give this kind of content to homeowners and level up the industry, level up their prices, and, really disseminate the information that way. So really excited about that. But I do feel like it's been a long journey of home ownership and construction and, lots of different facets of the industry.
I get the sense you have a hard time sitting still and doing nothing is what you're telling me, because it sounds like a very
If I
successful
wasn't
career.
on camera, I'd be walking around my office because I usually walk and talk and like a lot of hand gestures.
Yeah.
I'm not Italian, but I feel like you gotta really be able to use
Because
that.
you've had clearly a lot of successes, and so was it kind of like, man, it feels good to create value, or like what was the driving force for continuing to come back and
It's
can
that
you not
it's
help
not fixed, right? Like, it's still not fixed. I created this company, I sold it to AAA, but like, it's still not it's still not fixed, right? Like, there's Angie's List and Home Advisors and Thumbtack and Porch, but like, still, I guarantee if you go home today and your hot water heater doesn't work, you're going to be like, "Ah, damn, who do I call?" And it's like, you
Google
got
it?
to start the
Yeah.
process all over again,
Yeah.
and it's so that continues to be my frustration. Maybe as a homeowner, I'm like, why is this not better? It should be so fixable. It should be so addressable. So I keep coming at it from different pathways. And now I'm embracing the home inspectors. I got my home inspection certification. I don't think I would trust myself to go through any house, but I know enough to be dangerous. And, I just think that something has to happen with this. So I feel like it's a little bit of a perfect storm between all the energy information that needs to get disseminated, all of these tax rebates that just got passed that surely nobody even knows exist.
Right.
And then this come up with the home inspection industry as a result of the NAR lawsuits. Like, it just feels like a trifecta. So that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets me excited. And, every time I talk to a home inspector and they're like, wow, this is really great information, I'm definitely including this in all of my reports. Like, that makes me feel good. And it makes me feel like we are making progress and people are going to start to see this.
I love all that. Is this a problem that's just going to continue to get worse in terms of energy insecurity, cost of energy? It's probably not something a lot of people keep up with. I think people see headlines and they see the price of oil and we know when we go get gas, but like, I get the sense you keep track of energy costs on a higher level. So is there any like,
it's political too,
framing?
right? It fluctuates, like whether we're going to ban natural gas in one city or we're going to double down on it in another city. And, so I think the homeowners get kind of lost in the middle. And, energy is still, it's probably the third most expensive bill that you have after your mortgage and after your taxes, and it's somewhere around the same as your home insurance. But insurance is also going up too. Like, let's be clear, like the cost of owning
That
a
one has
home
been
is
astounding. That's a
way
whole
more.
nother topic, but like the doubling and tripling in some
Yeah,
cases is insane.
I know, I know. So I think that it's just going to continue to be more relevant. People are going to say, "Well, what can I do about it?" And in some cases, we're not going to start using less electricity. We're just going to keep using more and more of it, right? We get bigger TVs and bigger cars, even if they turn out to be electric. So I think we all just have to be more versed in what can we do about these things and get rid of some aging systems that are not serving us, and probably contributing to poor indoor air quality and a number of other issues that have ongoing maintenance. But it's just starting the conversation, getting people
Yeah.
aware of it, and what can I do about it? In some cases, there's not a lot that you can do about it. You're already, it's as cheap as it's going to get for you because of the usage. Or matter, if you got a pool or a hot tub or something, it's like, maybe turn the heat down on that. Like, some of it's going to be behavioral change. It's not
Right.
always this
But
stuff.
at least
But
right? At least if you get a report,
exactly,
there's nothing else you can be doing. I think it's the unknown because like I
I know,
looked at my bill last month and I was like, what can I do?
right?
I immediately was
Yeah.
like, how do I make this go down a little?
Yeah. And like I said, sometimes it's just a behavior change, but it would be nice to know that it wasn't the systems that were in your house that were causing it, or a lack of insulation, or whatever it is. So I just feel like this tailored information specifically for your house couldn't come at a better time, because if you can't just rely on blogs. You're like, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. Like, just get the information and get the content, and start. And then you can say, oh, what do I need to do about this? Oh, maybe I should call back my home inspector who gave me this really awesome report, and ask him who I should call. I think that just really increases the dialogue, and that should be what, at least the best inspection companies that I've been talking to, they want more of that contact.
Yes. Yeah. So this leads into kind of our good final topic, is like predictions for this year, which is always fun to talk about. It's not, maybe not bold at this point, because I've been talking about it so much, is the companies that lean into that, like call us for anything and just say
Yeah,
yes, and then figure out how to fulfill it or outsource it or whatever, are going to just grow massively. And whether they end up
absolutely.
acquiring other companies in town or just gobbling market share, but the revenue per customer lifetime is just going to go up.
Absolutely. And
What?
and I think, even to piggyback on that, like, they should be more aware of all of the support systems that are available to help them do that. Like, we can, help connect with contractors, even if it's all the contractors in your own network, right? There's so much that AI can do, and the machine learning, and technology, and maybe it's something that Spectora invents as a way to be able to level these things up. But they don't have to do it themselves.
Right.
Look at your partnerships, look at your associations that you belong to, look at all of the non-competitive resources that are available to you, and you know collaborate and
Yes.
find ways to rise together.
Yeah. It comes down to openness to solutions and listening to buyers too. Cause I think like
Yeah,
it's easy for inspectors to just say, I know what they need, or I've just going to keep doing what I've been doing, as opposed to how
yeah,
home ownership is evolving. Cause that's the signal that's going to give us the best direction of where to go.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Like,
so
being able to continue that dialogue with the homeowner, and build that rapport. um I think there's, like we said earlier, there's so much time and energy spent on the rapport with the agents, and that's valid because they are bringing in a lot more homeowners. But that survey that I was alluding to, at least 20% are coming from word of mouth referrals. So if you're offering next level service, believe me, people are going to talk about that. If you're
yeah,
just offering what they, the basic, what they're expecting, there's nothing for them to share. They're not going to say that that was remarkable. But if you gave them an energy analysis, or if you gave them follow-up phone call, or I heard somebody on one of your podcasts was saying that they do a handwritten note, like, these are things that are massive differentiators. Like,
yeah,
just great. Well, that's the inspector I'm going to be talking about.
right. Like if you stay top of mind, you will win the word of mouth game. It just feels simple the way you just worded it. It's
Absolutely.
like if you're on their mind every month or every quarter, you're going to just get that flywheel. It's just going to be like the new agent. Like it's
Yeah.
like home buyers will be the new real estate agents, possibly, in terms of word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
one of the things that we do is we send like 30 and 90-day follow-ups with homeowners because let's be real, like right when they're closing on the house, like you're
Overwhelmed.
kind of deer in the headlights. But you know, it's a really great follow-up to be able to say, hey, you know, this was called out in your home inspection. There's a $2,000 rebate available to be able to fix this. You know, just want to make sure that you're aware of it, right? Like there's nothing salesy about that, but you know, you're referring back to really great information and content that they got at a time when they were probably a little busy. But now they are in the house and they're like, oh yeah, he did say that the water heater was on its last legs. Like maybe I should look at this. So I just love all of that.
Love it. Love it. So are you guys based in California? Are you remote? Where's kind of the team? Is the team all over?
Mostly remote, although a lot of us are here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is great. So my founder, Kellen, she lives in San Francisco, and our CTO lives just south of me, and our head of marketing lives a couple miles from me. So
That's
definitely a
pretty
lot.
cool.
But you know, we have a team in Texas as well. So we, you know, like everybody, we're kind of hybrid and
Sure.
remote, but we try and get together. We get together at all the conferences and things like that. So we all sort of come together to be able to offer as much insight as we can to the inspectors who show up at all of those events. I mean, just like any other business, ours is going to be word of mouth too. So
100%. That's why, part of why we're here and talking on this pod. So are you guys going to be going to the IEB? They have one in the spring typically.
they have one in May, so we'll be at IGO in a couple of weeks. You know, in the interim, we're just trying to meet as many people as possible, and you know, spread the word. And got some things going with Internachi, and you know, trying to cover all of our bases. So please call me, Shannon at energyraven.com. Send me an email.
Right on.
But go to our website, check it out. You know, there's so many great things that we can do to help really level up inspectors. I just want this to be that's my prediction for 2024. This is going to be the year of energy, and everybody's going to be talking about it. There's going to be millions of dollars, billions of dollars coming from the federal government, state governments. Do not be shy. Make sure that your homeowners get this.
Love it. Love it. You're manifesting it for this year. So
I am.
I'm on board
I'm
with I'm
bringing
on
the
board with it.
dollars.
Awesome. Well, I'll link to everything in the description. This has been amazing. It's so great to have chatted the other day and jump on here. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other at many conferences going
I
forward
know
and,
we got
and
we got to
collaborating.
keep up the dialogue. There's definitely, you know, still so much more to be able to do in this industry, and I love working with, you know, the big thinkers
Sure.
in the space, and together I think we'll level up the whole industry
Oh,
and really make a huge difference.
look forward to it for sure. Well, Shannon, awesome. Appreciate it. Have a great
I
rest of your
appreciate it.
day.
Thanks for having me, Kevin, and look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. We'll talk soon.